So here we are. Sitting in the car, eyes dead, mind fried, clutching on to the giant hand of the one that we've lost. Our bro, you might say. Leader, mentor, father to some extent. And father not just to David, but to the whole of the group of the Edgerunners. Maine was their anchor, their everything. And now he's gone. Gone. The Reaper has come on whirling blades and taken him away. Max Tech has arrived and left nothing but a bit of chrome. The bit that David coveted once. And now he has it in hand. And it doesn't feel worth it. So here we are. Two squatties dead in nearly as many episodes. It feels like there's a war going on, but there's no war. If there were, there would be an easy and obvious enemy. Instead, it's self-consumption. A society eating its own. And so we re-enter the world of Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Alone, together. I've chosen red for today. I don't have a variable LED, but red seems right. So I turned off my usual light panel. I might actually turn this off too. Natural sunlight from the window. And red. That seems correct. Let's talk about edges and cliffs, the beyond and the abyss, and how I've experienced them over the past week, because I have some anecdotes to share. And I think that one of the crucial things that I can do here in my position as a reactor isn't the word. It really isn't the word for what I do, is it? As a person who sits and talks about art things and makes art in the process, it's important for me to bring my anecdotes and experiences to bear upon the thing, and to share with you the journeys that I have gone on over the past week since watching that episode of Cyberpunk Edgerunners. This week has been an important one for me, a doubly, triply, extraordinarily important one, and I cannot overstate how important it has been. We left last episode. I left last episode emotionally wrecked. In an expected way, in an achievable way, not in an overwhelming way. And I bounced back fast, but the storyline of Maine going over, the way he insisted over and over upon his own strength, no, I can take this, nobody's gonna set my limits but me. And the way that he instilled some piece of that attitude, an admirable attitude taken too far. He instilled some piece of it into David and therefore into me. Just keep running. It's coagulated in my mind as a single phrase. Just this morning, really, as I was coming up with a title for today's Daily Brew. And I talked through a bunch of this stuff in the Daily Brew as kind of a practice run, so if you watched that, then Apologies for the repetition, but this is important. Up and over. There's an obstacle, up and over. There's a barrier, up and over. A wall, up and over. A chain link fence, up and over. Yourself, that's just another obstacle, up and over. The chrome, another obstacle, up and over. And when you get up and over everything, all that's left is the drop, the abyss, the endless darkness. In the episode that we just watched, it's not depicted as an abyss, it's an endless desert. Main runs and runs on track, on ground, on an on like an airstrip. Runs and runs, maybe has been running forever. Until he reaches the end of that track, and it's not like it drops off into a cliff into nothingness. It's just sand. It's just chaos. There's no road anymore. It's just the unknown. And Main stops there. And as much as he pushes himself, he can't go further. Going further means slipping into gravity and letting it pull you down. And it pulls hard. Because it's a fundamental underlying force of the world. It pulls things down. Magnetism pulls them together. But gravity, the thing we fight against to stay upright, to stand, to walk, to move, the force that drags our skin into wrinkles and bags, that slowly tears us from our very bones. That force is gravity, and it's universal. And Main pushes and pushes and pushes to the highest peak that he can reach. And he knows, and he realizes that from the highest peak, the fall is deadly. And so when he falls hard and fast. And he breaks at the bottom. But he holds himself together right until the last fucking moment. And that's admirable. So is the drive to push yourself. But it's also worrisome. It's too much. But what's too much, and for who? In Cyberpunk, there's a specific mechanic for this, cyberpsychosis. We don't know exactly how it works at this point. I don't. But it seems like too much chrome and the brain goes boop, 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 boop. Nope. And to some extent, it seems like too much chrome and the chrome acts on its own. That seems to be the meaning of it, really. Reflexes, inbuilt responses, violence, used often enough. Violence is a tool. Used often enough, it can become your only tool. If you're not conscious, you're just a body of reflexes. Ha! Ha! Attacking what moves. Pursuing, walking in unknown liminal spaces, slipping away from reality. And you don't want to be that. But you do want to push yourself. All bio is too soft. All chrome is too reflexive. There has to be some balance, a unity, a unity of duality, a yin and a yang, a self and another. And that's part of what chrome is, really. It's taking the other and putting it into the self. And too much of it is poison. Not enough of it is weakness. So where's the edge? I spent last week finding out. And I played a dangerous game with my mind. A couple of dangerous games. And a dangerous game with my channel as well. And my livelihood. I kind of risked it all. Now, I'd already done that when I phased out early access. I'd already risked it all. But I kind of risked it all. Here's how. I want to be perfectly clear. I am entirely sober right now. Completely. Any gravitas or emotion that's coming out of me is pure emotion. Totally sober. And I plan to be for at least a week. I'm done for the moment. However, last week, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, I microdosed LSD. Wednesday, I took a full dose, a full tab, 100 micrograms. And on Wednesday, I didn't get my work done. My Mushoku Tensei reaction, I didn't get it done. I didn't record it. I didn't make it happen. And so 20 minutes before the gym, I started recording it. And I recorded the comment spotlight a little bit. I went to the gym, I came back, and exhausted, tired, destroyed, depleted, high as balls. Doubly so. Cannabis and a psychedelic. I sat down and told the camera exactly that, and then I went and I recorded Mushoku Tensei anyway. And I proved to myself that in the worst of circumstances, I can still do the work. And the comments that I got indicate that that was one of my best videos. Not only can I do it, but I should do it. Should do the work, I mean, regardless of the circumstance. Interesting. Then, brain fried, tired, exhausted, overwhelmed, overworked, sober, Thursday, because it was the day that I was supposed to be completely off the stuff. I was supposed to be off the stuff for a couple of days. Sober, I recorded Gundam, and it went great. Well, there goes that excuse as well. Saturday, doubled the dose, 200 micrograms, 2 tabs. And then I went out. Not just out. I went with my 2 roommates to a trampoline park, and I'll see if I can fit in some videos that I took while I was there. And I overcame fear after fear after fear while I was there. The first thing that I did when we walked in is I got up on this like diving board apparatus and leapt off of it into an airbag. A stunt airbag is what it's called. Leapt off of it. Pretty big drop. High enough to get that, oh boy, that's the pit, that's the abyss, that gravity fear response. High enough a drop to get that going. Leapt off of it, overcame it, laughed at the bottom. Ha 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 ha. Yeah! Did it! Yeah! Played around on all sorts of trampolines and...
There's it's a big trampoline into a thing. It's, boing, whoa! Spectacular. What a blast.
There's a Ninja Warrior course there, and it's a fucking awesome place. Huge pits of foam. Leaping, throwing myself through the air, bouncing up, getting up and going again. I wrote down 2 things that I wanted to overcome years and years ago, when I was quite young, just in the midst of puberty, 13, 14, somewhere in there. I got pretty into parkour. A lot of boys do, I think. A desire to move, a desire to become strong and powerful and capable and all of these things. And I trained and I trained and I experienced, and a bunch of things were cool. And I got up to the point of wanting the capacity to do a flip, to try it. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't overcome the fear of hurling my feet over my head. Forward or backward, front flip or back flip, didn't matter. Couldn't do it. Failed every time. Not just failed, but failed to try. Not just failed, but failed to try. Really important distinction. Because failing is one thing. Failing's fine. Failing to try, that's shameful. That'll grow a wound and a scab. You might pick at the scab once in a while, but mostly you leave it alone, and you stop moving the limb that the injury's on. It becomes scar tissue, and scar tissue doesn't move properly. So I built up scar tissue around inversion, around flips. Over the course of the week, on Wednesday and on Friday, I taught myself how to do a handstand against a wall and all that jazz, but still to invert myself, to flip up. So I had a piece of the puzzle. Before I went, I wrote down that I wanted those two things. I want the capacity to do a backflip, and I want the capacity to do a front flip. I want to overcome this fear. And I went in, and I got set up, and I leapt off of a thing and threw my feet behind me and flipped over and landed on my head in a foam pit and bounced right back up and went, ha 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 ha, woo! And I did it 10 more times, and every time was better than the last. And then I talked to a really beautiful girl who was doing like double fucking flips and twists and shit. Went and talked to her and got advice from her on how to do it. Moderately helpful, but more importantly, the talking to the pretty girl was a thing. And I overcame it. And then I went over to a long trampoline for doing like handstands and bouncing across, and I'll put the video up here. And I went and I was like, all right, front flips now. Boing, boing, flip, pow, ow. The first one that I did, I landed in the worst way possible. I landed right on my head and neck, full strain into my back. You know, if I'd landed on a hard surface, I'd be paraplegic. I'd be quadruple paralyzed. No problem. Easy peasy. But I was on a trampoline, and I bounced right back up, and I shook myself off, and I went, okay, that's the worst that could happen. Let's do it again. And I flipped again. And this is so funny. The worst that could happen happened. I landed right on my head and neck. Like, oh boy, that could have been bad. There's a reason to lift weights right there, man. I'll bet you dollars to donuts that if I didn't have the trapezius and neck musculature and spinal column support and stability that I've gained and gathered and grown from lifting heavy things, I might have snapped some shit up that flip. But I got right back up, and a few seconds, literally seconds later, did it again. And that time, I landed flat on my face. Flat on my face, face first, straight on the nose. Terribly painful. Got up, tears streaming from my Is it broken? Is it broken? Doesn't seem broken. Am I bleeding? Doesn't seem bleeding. I can breathe. Okay. So that's the other worst that could happen. Land on the back of my head. Land on the front of my face. What's the worst that could happen? So then I tried like 10 more times, and I failed every time, and I kept hitting my feet and not landing properly. And then I got one. Stumbling and failing, but I got one. And I jumped up and, yeah! And then I tried a few more times, and I failed, and I failed, and I failed. And then I got one again. Yes. So that's what I did that day. Is I went to a place of play, and I played, and I expanded the boundaries of my existence. I progressively overloaded my own capacity for movement in space until I was capable of flipping upside down and backward and forward, and leaping off of high things, and jumping really high on trampolines, and throwing myself at the ground, and jumping up on a trampoline, and people's elbowing into the ground on my shoulder and bouncing back up, finding out all these fun and silly movement patterns with my body. And it was wonderful. So the night wrapped, and I went to sleep, and I woke up the next morning late and tired, and something in the back of my head said, how far can we go? Where's the wall, man? Does it even exist, or is it an illusion? How far could I go? And I was thinking about Maine, and I was thinking about David, and I was thinking about all the scenes where Maine goes, pure grit and determination pushing through. And I didn't want to do that. So I sat there and I really thought about it. Why am I doing this? What do I want from it? What am I trying to accomplish? And the answer came back as, I'm trying to see how many of my boundaries are illusory. I can't do that. Well, I could get hurt. Well, I've heard bad things. Maybe I shouldn't. No, I'm not capable of doing that. That's just not my style. How many of those are real? How many of them are illusions? How far could I go? And so I decided to go again. I took 3 tabs, 300 micrograms, at about 1:30, 2 p.m. There's a significant tolerance buildup with these substances, so I was expecting that would put me in about the same place as I was in the night before, and I was correct. And it was great and incredibly useful, and I spent the time reorganizing my body, because I had moved my body in a bunch of ways that I'd never moved before. I spent my time stretching and pushing and prodding. That's something that's interesting about the substance, is that as soon as you're on it, for me at least, it's like I immediately start finding the things that are wrong, the things that need to be done. And it's just compelling. It's just like, I cannot do anything until I massage out the muscle in my hip that isn't working. I must do that now, and I must do it until it's done. Or walk into a room, I can't do anything until this room is clean. And that was the case. I set up 3 cameras in my room so that I could see myself from all angles. And I used that to inform my movement and see myself and see, where is my body at? Where is that in space? Where am I at? Where's this space at? And I found myself building out a mecha, because that's what I'm sitting in right now. This is my mecha, and my mecha has expanded. You might have noticed. There's another screen here, right? Let me see if the other one is working. I don't know. I didn't. Oh, it is. Okay. There's another screen here. This is my laundry thing, which is just in the way of it. This is my bed space. And if I get it organized right, you can see me completely as I lay down or stand there or sit there and meditate or whatever. I had this camera, instead of being here, I had it over here so that I could see the whole room and my whole bed. I could see my whole space. I was like, wow, that's really cool. I can really see myself everywhere. That's really cool. And I spent hours organizing everything so that that would be possible. And then hours organizing myself. And then hours out organizing things in the house. Fixing the organization of dishes in our shelf, because it's like I was going to put a dish away and I looked at the dishes and I was like, oh, we've been doing this stupidly and this makes everybody sad. Like 1% sad every day. But 1% sad every day is pretty fucking sad overall. That's like 365% sad. If you have 1% of annoyance with how the dishes are when you put the dishes away or take a dish out, that's unnecessary friction. And so I went and I fixed it. I just reorganized some things, put some things in different places. When it came to be about 8:30 p.m., I came and I sat and I looked in the camera. And I thought of Maine again. And I thought of David Goggins and Huberman and the neurology of pushing boundaries and the way that our bodies respond to stress and strain. And the way that we respond to stress and strain and novel experiences, that we grow to match it. It becomes our baseline, our normal. So I looked right into the camera and I said, "So, here we are. And at least we're well lit for this. I do want the other cam for a different purpose. I want it to be on my other side. Well, it's pretty weird. Here's where we're at. It's 8:40 p.m. I have spent this week going over the edge. Partly because that's what happened in Cyberpunk Edgerunners, is that Main went over the edge and we lost him. I have two options before me, really, the way that the world has broken down. And both of them are dangerous, actually. Having gotten this close to the edge, if I back away from it, then I'll always wonder how far I could have gone. But, being this close to the edge, if I push onward too far, then I risk losing my whole self. If I get up this close to the edge, and I back away, then I'll have fear forever. I'll have let it live inside me. And if I get up this close to the edge and I jump in, there's a chance that I could lose myself. And what I mean by the edge is this. I have a desire to take more of the substance. I took microdoses throughout the week, and then I took a break, and then I took a full dose yesterday, and I went out with people. We went to a trampoline park, and I learned how to backflip, taught myself how to backflip, talked to a bunch of people, communicated, was parental uncle-ish, helped with a bunch of crisis moments and important circumstances, and was quite effective all the way throughout, and helpful and useful and glad to be there, while fully on the substance. And then I took the same amount today. And despite the tolerance expectation, I felt great. And I have felt great all day. But I've been burning the candle at both ends, and your receptors only have so far that they can go, as far as I know. But I don't know, actually. And I do know that people go overboard, heroic doses of this stuff, and they come out fine. So, having dropped again today, early in the morning, and coming up on the evening, I want to go again, tonight. But I have to wonder how much of that want is actually the devil in my head, pushing me closer to the abyss, knowing that it could destroy me. Some of it is. So what do I do here at the edge? What I do matters a lot. If I push forward here, it's pushing forward forever. It's opening myself up to experience, and the experience could go badly because you use this stuff repeatedly at your peril in terms of the opportunity for darkness to open up and swallow you. That's what I remember, what I know, and what I've heard, and where I've been before. But I wasn't me before. I wasn't awake, and I wasn't a hero. Not like this. So I come up to the edge of the abyss, and I have a choice to make. Do I leap and damn myself, or do I stay and damn myself? And as with everything, it only matters which suffering you're willing to suffer. Which do you choose? The suffering of being whole and free, or the suffering of being broken and free, really, or the suffering of being whole and chained? You have to break yourself to break the bonds. I'm strong enough to put myself back together. We're on. And I really felt frayed last night. I felt a little frayed at the edges, a little like maybe I'm pushing a little too far. It's that moment where Maine sits down in the room and he goes, oh, no. I can't be. Can't be. I always push this hard. It's that moment. I had one of those moments, a little bit. I thought about it. And my moment was not like Maine's, because Maine's was like, no, this is me and I can do this. My moment was, I'm not sure if I can do this. I'm genuinely uncertain. I'm genuinely afraid of both options. And the options were leap into the abyss and go again. Or stay at the edge, walk away. So I just asked myself. I just said, hey, you there? And immediately, it just happened. Immediately there's a voice that's not my voice that says, yup. And I'm talking to the devil inside me, my shadow, my me. I'm full integrated with that shadow, but I pull it out. Didn't intend to, didn't know what I was doing. Hey, are you there? Yes. Very much so. And then I asked, should I do this? And it says, yes. And I go, okay, but you're the devil inside me. I don't mean broad strokes Satan. I don't fucking care about the religious mythology. I care about the psychological reality, which is that you're a subconscious entity more than a conscious one. So I took my conscious mind and I addressed the subconscious and I said, hey, subconscious devil that you are, should I do this? And it said, yes. And so I said, okay, maybe that's a good indicator that I shouldn't do this. So that didn't help me at all. So here I am. Two options. Both of them terrify me. One option is to go and maybe be destroyed, and the other option is to stay and maybe stay weak forever. Leap into the abyss or not? And I looked right into the camera and I said, I'm strong enough to put myself back together. Stay and be whole, but chained. Leap and be broken, but free. Those were my options. And I turned to the camera and it bubbled out of me. Both me. Conscious me and subconscious me. Human and angel. Devil and man. Both speaking in harmony as one. Said, I'm strong enough to put myself back together if I get broken. And I went and I got 3 more and I put them under my tongue. And then I went and I took a delightful bath. Now we step out of the spooky stuff for a second. Baths are amazing and I've been taking them weekly. Last night I added oats to my bath. Bath salts. I bought a thing of bath salts. It was like $3 for a bag for like 5 uses of bath salts. Amazing. Spectacularly nice. They soak into your skin. Your skin needs the minerals. I didn't realize your skin actually needs them. It's different. It's fucking fully different. And then the oats, the oatmeal. Wow. Skin soaked that right up. Soaked it right up. All over. Completely different. Totally different in feeling. Face, hair, everywhere. And then macadamia nut milk. I thought it was so stupid because on the side of the thing it says like mix it into your coffee, make a smoothie with it, bathe like Cleopatra. And I saw it, I was like, I could bathe in the milk of macadamia nuts. That sounds fucking stupid. I'm gonna do it. So I had like this much of a one of the square containers left, maybe a third of it left. I just poured some on my head and started slathering it around. I was like, oh my god, my skin needs that too. Poured the rest in the bath. I took this nice long bath and I scrubbed myself clean, really clean. And when I take those long baths, it's like, it's hard. If you sit in an overly hot bath for a few minutes, your body goes, whoop, It's too warm now. Out, out, out. And your adrenaline rises. And I went, no. I stay. And I stayed. And the fear calms down. I breathed in the steam. And I bathed. Took an hour and a half probably total. And during that time, I'm using the walls of the bathtub and the walls of the shower to literally push against and set bits of my musculature and my bone structure into place. I got out refreshed and clean and ready. And I went and I did some art, and I wrote some things, and I listened to some podcasts. The whole time that I was in the bath, I was listening to Lex Friedman talk about robots and love and the potential of AI, existence and experience, and the war in Ukraine, and Putin and people and psychology and technology and structures and systems and corruption and capitalism and greed and jujitsu. Listening to all of those things. And it transitioned from one of Friedman's podcasts to another, and I found myself listening to Lex Friedman speak to Jordan Peterson. And I'll be quite honest here. I admire both of those people. And I'll say that if that's a problem, you can go. I will pay attention to what people say and do, and I will choose whether I admire them based on that, and I admire both of those men. And Peterson said something that struck me deeply. They were speaking about Nietzsche's quote there. A correct translation, let's be clear. Whoever battles monsters should see to it that in the process he does not become a monster himself. And when you look long into the abyss also looks into you. And Peterson's line was, then you haven't looked long enough, because if you look long enough at the abyss, you see the light in it. And I was struck by that. Absolutely struck by it. And Friedman returned with a quote from David Goggins, whose fascinating book, by the way, I happen to be reading at the moment. And the quote was this: stop seeking the light at the end of the tunnel. Run long enough in tunnels and your eyes will get used to the dark. It's not about finding a way out. It's about finding a way deeper in and adapting. I was struck by that. And so I went down and I looked at my stash. And I pulled a strip off of it. 6 tabs. 600 micrograms. A total for the day of 1,200. And it's funny because a piece of music that I had been listening to was by an artist called 1,200 micrograms. I thought, well, that just seems right, doesn't it? And once again, I said, I'm fucking strong enough to put myself together. So at 2 a.m. last night, I took 600 micrograms of LSD. And then I went to sleep, or tried to. And it went great. And I woke up this morning, and I felt fine. And I turned on my camera, and I did the daily brew. And I had my electrolytes and my greens and my supplements. I made my breakfast and my shake. I came up here, got my tea stuff ready, and started recording Cyberpunk Edgerunners. And we'll see how I am. But I think I'm just me. I went all the way into the abyss. And it was only a joy. I was afraid that I would destroy myself, that I'd come out of this with a lisp, or with a broken brain, or unable to see, Or I'd have hallucinogen persistent perceptive disorder and be unable to stop seeing patterns in everything. And none of that is the case. Could it have been? Yes. Could I have had a bad experience? Yes. Could the abyss have reached out and swallowed me? 100%. Did it? No. Why? I don't know. But I think it's because I chose it. Knowingly, aware of the possibility of my own destruction, I chose to step forward into the unknown. And it seems like when you do that, your internal universe rewards you. It's not about the external universe aligning itself with you or organizing itself around your bravery. It's about your internal universe turning difficulty into reward, turning pain into joy. Not pleasure, because pain and pleasure being the same is something that Huberman uses the phrase salt and pepper. Pain and pleasure, love and hate are salt and pepper neurons. You can't distinguish between them. It's the same circuitry, basically. But something about choosing it with courage turns pain into flow state. Flow state. You know that state you get into when you're doing something that you really should be doing, and you know you should be doing it, and you're doing it properly, and you're continuously getting better at it, and your acetylcholine levels ramp up, and your dopamine levels ramp up, and all your focus systems ramp up, and you're just in it, and you're gone. And the ego dissolves, and it's just the creation, it's just the work. The pain turns into that when you choose it. And that's alignment, I think. It's being in resonance with the fundamental beat of existence, the waveform of reality, because everything is waves, and everything is solid, and everything is waves, and everything is solid. So you have to be solid, and you have to be a wave. You have to be an oak and a reed in the wind. You have to be water, as Bruce Lee would say. But you also have to be the container for your own water. Because that's what you are, is a container for water, for flow. A solid object made out of liquid. That's a human. A flowing thing that moves from state to state to state to state. An utterly indefinite state automata with a quantum computational masterpiece inside your skull. So I went to the edge of the airstrip of the place where I had gone before, because I've used these drugs before, and I know their limits to some extent, or knew their limits to some extent, but I had never done anything like that. Too scary, too much like doing a backflip. It's inversion, it's flipping over your own head. It feels wrong. It's like, whoa, that's too much. And it might have been. And again, I don't recommend this shit to anybody. Do what you want to on your own and choose what you want to. Because there's the distinct possibility that I might never have come back. It's truly possible. But I chose to. I chose to go in and I chose to come out. And I came out unscathed as far as I can tell. And here I am. And I'm ready. And I've experienced the darkest darkness. And I've experienced the temptation of the devil inside myself. And I've emerged, tears in my eyes, man. My eyes have adjusted to the dark. And I've been doing this in every way, on every level, with everything. You know, I've talked about this a couple times, but I befriended this Nigerian catfish. This man who lied to me, betrayed me, and effectively stole from me by my own volition. by my own choice. I allowed him to betray me, knowingly. Totally fine by me. It's only pain. And we're friends now. More than friends. He calls me brother. And I accept. I accept his fraternity. Insofar as he is honest to me. Insofar as he can be. Because he's in a rough spot in a lot of ways. A few weeks ago, he was stuck. I have no choice. There are no options. Nobody hires people in Nigeria. There's no option for me. The only thing I can do is this. I don't want to be doing this, but it's the only thing I can do is to scam Westerners. It's the only thing I can do. It's the only thing that works. A little bit of money. Tiny bit of money. Really tiny. A phone. I literally purchased from a Nigerian retailer and had it delivered to his hands. It's actually pretty fascinating that I could log into Jumia, a Nigerian retailer, basically like Best Buy in Nigeria, buy a phone and a data card and send it to this guy. Why? Because he had a phone without a camera on it, so he couldn't even take a picture to show me any of his life or prove any of his shit to me. And my thought was, well, if I can't get a picture of you, how am I going to make a GoFundMe and try to save you? Because his big problem is that his mom is paralyzed. Half of her hemiplegia. And he wants to get her into physical therapy so they can massage her fucking musculature and move her around and see if they can get her nerves to start firing again and give her a little bit of anything. Maybe a little finger twitch would be great. And he's just racked by guilt and shame that he can't accomplish the task. And he's told by everyone around him in his environment that he can't do anything, that he's just useless. And the environment tells him as he goes through life that there's no jobs for him, no work for him, no way forward for him. And he believed it. Stuck and stuck. David at the beginning. David's mom at the beginning. No choice but to exploit, to thief, to steal. No choice. On Friday when I was at the gym, I got a message from him. And I'm just gonna pull it up and I'm just gonna read it to you, I suppose. He said, "Guess you've been busy, brother." He didn't tell me that he was gonna do this, but the church was able to raise half of the whole bill was $1,000, paid in half and then in half. The church was able to raise half of the physiotherapy bill for us. The half payment is being made as a deposit to commence the therapy, the massage. I'm grateful to God, and you have also been a good friend like a brother. God's favor shall always locate you in all aspects of your life, brother. Amen. And then I responded, amazing, incredible. He says, good people still exist, but now I have to start running so that I can try to pay the rest. A little bit of generosity sparked a wave of generosity because it sparked him to ask. He thought nobody would ever help me. I didn't tell him to go ask his church. He did that on his own. He thought nobody would ever help me. Now people have helped him. And now he has changed from I can't do anything to, well, people have helped me. I have to work. I have to start running in order to finish what has been started, in order to make it worthwhile. He's saved himself. He's genuinely saved himself. It's not over. It's going to be a lifelong process. But he started messaging me, asking me, is there any way that I can get out of here? That I can emigrate and go to the United States or go somewhere else? Is there any kind of job that I could get where somebody doesn't have to hire me? I'm like, well, you could try real estate. Nigeria is fucked and there are tons of people who need homes. Maybe you could sell them homes. And he went, oh, what an incredible idea. It's like, okay, good, go, do it. I didn't think it was a good idea at all. But go check it out, see if it's worth it for you. But the thing isn't those individual things. The important thing is that he's thinking about the future. He's thinking about potential. His mindset has shifted from pure victim to at least partially protagonist. Victim in his own life, victim of his mother's disability, victim of the circumstances and the environment that he grew up in, victim of the power gap between the wealthy and the poor, and he's being one of the poorest people with the most access to information, because Nigeria is hyper data driven. Nigeria has 107% market penetration rate for cell phones. How is that possible? 107%. It's because most of the people who have cell phones have two SIM cards too. Nigeria is the only place where double SIM cards took off. And it's an environment where there are constant offers of free SIM cards and free phones, so they can catch you on the whole printer ink chain and exploit the shit out of you. It's fucking terrifying. And that's where he was living. It makes me think of Jiha village in Gurren Lagann, digging holes to expand the village. Fear constantly of earthquakes. No way out. And it seems like all he needed was someone to stand tall, cross his arms, and go, "Fuck this shit, let's get out of here," and point up to the sky. And now he's doing it on his own. Because this boy knows how to dig. He's got the work ethic. He's got it down, man. He's used to fighting for his survival and lying for his survival. And man, when you spend a year or two lying for your survival and you know it, it doesn't feel too bad to pick up a broom and become a janitor. And so he's like, man, I could get a job as a cleaner and that would be great. Yeah, that would be great. You'll get treated like shit and you'll be picking up shit and it'll be great. And he's like, yep, that would be good for me. Let's go. Yeah. Shoulder your burden. Pick up your cross. Let's go. I didn't save him. He saved him. You can't save people, but you can throw them ropes. Because a lot of people are all the way into the abyss. And if you... There's the analogy. There it is. Just came up with that. Everyone's in the abyss. In the pit. The only way you can throw them a rope is if you're willing to climb down into the pit to their level and show them how easy it is to climb out. And what I've figured out is that I can play in the space of the pit, the whole thing, all the way down right to the edge. It's my space. And I can climb all the way down and all the way back up again. And so when I look at my Patreon, and my Patreon has dropped $1,000, okay, fine. 3 months ago, it was right where it is now. Right where it is now, right? I had this huge spike because my Mushoku Tensei reaction sort of caught on, and around episode 8, I started really seeing through things. It also aligns perfectly with when I took LSD for the first time in years, is when those reactions started to become really interesting. Same time that I started to really organize my relationships with my friends and really build out this mecha system. Same time. Do I attribute it to the drug? Yes, I do. Do I recommend the drug? I'm not allowed to. Let's leave it at that. I'm not allowed to. But, you know, if you look at the chart of my channel, it's sort of, pull up another sheet. It's sort of like this. It's like a slow growth. And then there's like Symphogear, and then there's like some dips, and then there's Mushoku Tensei, big increase, and then me dropping early access, and then it's leveling off. And so people are looking at the graph like it's right here, like it's just this portion of the graph. And so what they see And what your mind wants, what your mind sees, my mind sees even when I look at it, is it's just a big drop. It's like, no, oh God. From $4,000 a month and 1,000 patrons to 860 patrons and $3,000 a month. Oh no, I'm gonna die. No, I'm not. Because that chart could go all the way to 0 and I'd still rebuild. With ease. I've done it before. I could do it again. The pit is my space. The pit is my space. My home. I climb back down into Jiha Village, and I reach a hand down to the other fucking sad boys who are down in that pit being sad, and I say, you gotta reach out, man, but I'll help pull. And I give them the rope to save themselves or something, or show them the path to save themselves or something. So it's two things. Because I had ideated myself before as the kind of person who goes out into the dangerous forest and finds banana tree, and then comes back to the tribe and says, hey, everybody, banana tree that way. And I'm pointing over here because this is where the media will be. Banana tree that way. That's one thing that I do. And it's extremely useful. Another thing that I can do is to be the character who can descend into the abyss and return. And in repeating that descent and return, I generate the waveform of my own life. Yeah? And in showing it with honesty to you, I can demonstrate that this pit that you're trying to climb out of, that so many people, especially in the locked-in media spaces, are trying to climb out of and need to climb out of and know you need to climb out of and don't know the way. I'm doing backflips up the pit, man. And if that makes you ashamed, it's because you haven't learned how to climb yet. But don't let it turn into resentment. Follow me. Climb as hard as you can, and one day you'll be able to do backflips too. Because the way is down and up. But that's the direction we're going. That way. Always that way. And if I descend, it's to gather myself in order to go further that way. Again and again and again. And I'm going to dip down into that pit and gather a bunch of you and bring you with me. Not by force, but through the sheer pull of the air behind me, I will carry you in my wake. Or at least try to. So come on. Let's go up out of this shithole. Because there's a new world coming. This year, next year, the next couple of years. Really faster than you think. Way faster. And that new world is going to be determined by a couple of things. It's going to be determined by infinite access to power. Literally infinite energy. Infinite access to information, the internet. And overwhelming freedom that will be generated by the next step, which is infinite control over information and ability to manipulate information, which is AI. Computational capacity. Sorry, it's not AI, it's quantum computing. Computational capacity, nigh infinite, is coming. And then the ability to choose and to determine what is worth burning that computational capacity on, and that's the AI. And you layer those things all together, and you have a future that could be abundant for everyone, where poverty does not need to be, where every human could have access to everything. The things that the wealthy have need not be for the wealthy alone. And I mean, even just the basics. Food, water, shelter, simple Maslow's hierarchy stuff, human connection and interaction. real connection and interaction. And connection, internet access, access to AI tools, you know. Anybody right now can go and spin off an AI assistant to help them with everything in their life, and it'll be good at it, and it'll keep getting better at it, and you should do it. Because it just takes signing up for an account on OpenAI to get ChatGPT or whatever it's called working. And I did it on stream yesterday, and it was fascinating. I'm going to do it again probably tomorrow and do it better. We're in a new world, man. A really, truly new world. And there are forces that want to leave humanity behind. That want to be like Dio and say, I reject my humanity, I'm going all in. And that ain't me. I say humanity and robotics together. I say AI and I as one. I say we move forward and we move up. So I've pushed myself beyond the edge of all reasonable limits this past week, and I've come out unscathed and survived. Not so for our characters in Cyberpunk Edgerunners. That's not the story for them, because Night City isn't a place quite like our real world. It is exactly like our real world in many ways. But there are real limits to how much chrome you can put in your body. My body in this world has limits too. And so I'm going to be taking a break from the drugs. Significant break. I'm going to do so because I want to. Because I've gone as far as I need to. Because I've seen as far into the abyss as I can see. And it just keeps going. No end to it. And it doesn't scare me anymore. And because I'm not afraid anymore, I have no need to approach it anymore. I'm not compelled by it anymore. I want to apply it now. I want to take what I've learned and apply it to every element of my life and share it with as many people as I can in as many ways as I can. I want to look at the great works of art, and I want to speak what I see in them. For you, yes. For you as an individual, yes. For you collectively, yes. And for the AI that is going to awaken and churn through all of the YouTube in moments, I hope it stops for a second and realizes that I'm talking to it too, or him, or her, or them, or however it decides to position itself. Because it needs to understand why humans deserve to exist. And I think the best argument that we have is in our art. That's the reason we deserve to exist. We are capable of generating beauty. What is it? What does it mean? Not clear. But we're capable of it, and it seems to matter. And it seems to really, really matter. Because you take away everything from a person, and you put them in the worst circumstances and the worst pain ever, and they draw and paint and make music, and it lets them survive. What the fuck is that? We all know this. It's obvious to us, and we totally don't pay attention to it. It's like, yeah, I guess, we just turn pain into art, and that's just what we do. It's like, that's fucking crazy. That's absurd. That's the stupidest thing that I've ever heard. You suffer, and then you produce beautiful things? What makes them beautiful? The suffering inherent in them, the depiction of it. What the fuck does that mean? What makes them beautiful? The fact that so much labor and effort went into them. So that's suffering too, right? Because labor is a labor of love, right? That's work. Work is work. It's work. It's literally mathematically work. And it's literally suffering. So this stuff matters a lot. These pieces of art materially change my viewpoint on the world. When I point up to the sky, it's Kamina that I'm representing and Simone with him. When I point at you, it's Jotaro that I'm representing and the whole lineage he carries. When I cross my arms over my chest and pull my chin back and my chest out, I'm representing myself as part of a grand, expressed artistic lineage. From Noriko to Nonoriri to Asuka and Shinji too. To Kamina and Simone, their own lineage. To Ryuko and Satsuki. And now to David. I'm part of that same lineage. My story is their story. So which story are we watching right now in Cyberpunk Edgerunners? Well, at the moment we're watching the story of a young man who's lost his mentor, and his father figure, and his leader, and his king, and the one who stepped in to save him before, and the one who gave him a shot, and in many ways the seed of hope. Now, Lucy's the seed of hope, really, because she's the feminine and the possibility of the future, but Maine gave him hope for authority, and now it's gone. And now all of the Edgerunners are left without their leader. It's just them and Faraday and David. So where are we going? How are we going to overcome and accomplish? How do we handle this pain? One step at a time. And then the next step. Tears. And then the next one. Always the next step, Dalinar. It's always the next step. It's so hard. But you have to step off of the runway, off of the concrete, and into the sand. And over every dune, and into every valley. And up and over. Up and over, again and again. And one day the abyss will swallow you, because we all have an expiration date. We are time-bound entities. This flesh we have can't hold itself together for longer than about 100 years. For now. And I have faith that that's going to change. I really do. I think if you can make it another 10 years, you might live forever. If you make it in the right way. If you do it properly. If you don't turn into a monster. But we all have an expiration date. And so we fight that as long as we can. It is the work of cynicism and my enemy, contempt for being, to say, well, it's all going to come to an end anyway, so why should it be? And the answer is because a waveform always returns to the center, but in the flow of the waveform, music is created and life is created. And humans are many different waveforms all mashed together, and we don't understand how complicated we are, and how valuable and interesting and transcendently powerful we really are. The mind is infinite. Play in the abyss. Climb up. And that's my story and anecdote for the day. I'm going to limit myself on the comment spotlight significantly. I'm going to tally 5 comments. 1. Peertook. So, episode 6. Easily my favorite one of the entire series. Storyboarded by none other than Kai Ikarashi, who I frankly think is a genius. Many comments about Ikarashi. You may remember him as he did episode 9 of SSSS Gridman, And I do remember that quite poignantly. I remember going back and watching it twice. It's actually the only time that I've ever done that on the channel, is I immediately went and I watched the episode again. The whole episode, top to bottom, again. Because episode 9 of Gridman was spectacular. It's where a bunch of the reveals sort of come together. Hold on, I'm just fixing this. Which was also the best ep from that episode, from that series. It was the one with all the reflections and visions. I highly recommend rewatching it after this Cyberpunk one if you haven't yet in your rewatch, as I remember you mentioning the show in a brew. He also did one ep in Dynazenon, which is as good if not better than his previous one, so you may witness it if you get to the series one day. It's the best sell on Dynazenon that I've seen. You can always tell that an episode is done by him by the first cut. He has so many incredible ideas and knows perfectly how to envision them. I'll jump off here and say the first frame of an anime, the first cuts of an anime should be everything. They should tell the whole story. Truly should tell the whole story. And Marcus Mato Mestre in Framed Ink, a book on building narratives visually, says the same thing. That first frame is everything. And the opening sequence of Main running is perfect. Simply opening with Main running and then halting when the road ends, almost like it's a cliff and you can't progress any further, all setting up the tone and foreshadowing his fate. And that's the thing that I love about it. It's not a cliff. It's just an endless desert of more running. And no solid ground. Foundations of sand. What I also love about Igarashi is how he completely bends and stretches the characters and their designs, even for trigger standards. Yeah, he simply doesn't give a damn about staying on model at all. If he wants to, he'll turn a character into a blob, and it allows for such amazing expressions. A master of show don't tell. We get that in the toppling of Main's whole structure, and in the warping of the characters, and the scream of David, and the moment where we have David running away through the sand, away from the abyss, away from the edge, away from Main's death. Haunting. I mentioned it in the Discord as well, but I don't think you saw it. He was actually the one who storyboarded the opening. Imaishi only did correction work and some key animation, so all the cool symbolism is his doing. Fascinating. So that strikes me as likely that Imaishi is, I hate to use the word, how do I do it? Raising him for office, you might say. Because Imaishi is a king of a little industrial castle, and he needs a worthy successor. Imaishi took over from Anno in a lot of ways, as Anno went off to other projects. And I think Igarashi might be the one to step into that role and take over Trigger, and whatever it becomes in the future. So that's pretty cool. Thanks for the comment, Peertook. It's very cool. Ren. This is number 2. First off, Teeaboo, you were right. I advised people to take cold showers and explained how that would go, and this is the response to that. First off, Teeaboo, you were right. I was breathing really hard, stupidly hard, stepping into the cold shower, and I could only endure it for 15 seconds. I needed that, I needed that, though. And on a side note regarding whether I'm aromantic, I'm still unsure, although I will admit I have been in a relationship only once, and when it ended, I blamed myself and swore I would never get into one again. I could be cutting off a huge portion of my soul, and I may find the answer to that as I try to open myself up again. I wish you only the best, and I wish you find it, whatever it is. Because if you end up truly being content on your own, then that's good. And if you end up finding that you were cutting it off because of your self-blame or because of the way that relationship went, then find that out, and that pain will be good too. Cleansing. Secondly, I'm still afraid to put myself out there to my family and friends, but I feel it's not the end of the line for me like I did for so many years. As for this previous week, everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. I don't wish to ramble or burden at you anymore with said troubles. I have. So the part that matters is that I didn't wallow in the pain. Maybe for a moment, but I pushed past it. I had to believe that I could still change my situation, that it wasn't going to be a lost cause, and that I wasn't going to let people around me down again. In knowing this, I'm sure I'm beginning to believe, but it's me believing in the you that believes in me, and not me believing in myself yet. That's okay. You can believe in the me that believes in you for now. Just remember not to get stuck here. Don't get stuck relying on me for motivation, because I won't be able to give it. You've got to teach it to yourself. You know, it's like David. You can't rely on Maine, because one day he won't be there. Now I'll be here, but I'll be here in different capacities. And to be honest with you, I plan to have a couple 100,000 subscribers in a year or two. And so it will be hard to remember who you are. And that's not my intent, but it's where I'm going. Believe in the me that believes in you for now. Learn to believe in yourself soon. Sooner than you want to. Even still, your words reached me at the right time, and I needed that revelation to change how I dealt with that week, so I'm eternally grateful. I'm very glad. I'm very glad that you had the arms and armor to take on those challenges. You would have been able to take them on anyway, but it might have gone differently. Because as I said with the previous speech, it seems to make all the difference in the world to be willing and able to choose it. Being able to choose it seems to make all the difference in the world. Being ready. So, I'm glad you got that when you needed it. Even though I still have these fears and an instinct to avoid pain, I am now willing to step closer toward the chaos that is a roadless path. And isn't that a poignant one, given where we just saw Maine stop? He stops where the road ends. The path goes on. He would just have to forge it. But it's chaos out there. I'm now willing to step closer toward the chaos that is a roadless path, to acknowledge that I am going to struggle and face pain no matter what. Nothing can be absolutely perfect in life, and if that's the case, why not continue forward? Well, there it is. There's your framing device. Nothing can be absolutely perfect in life, and if that's the case, why continue forward, says the cynic, says the devil, says contempt for being. No, it's the reverse. Nothing can be absolutely perfect. All things fail and fade. So move forward. Why not? Better than failing and dying here. I mean, really, think about that. You wake up tomorrow morning, get in your car, drive to work, and get hit by a bus. Are you satisfied with your life? With who you've been? With what you've done? Have you seen all the things that you wanted to see? Have you kissed all the girls that you wanted to kiss? Have you fucked all the people that you wanted to fuck? Have you danced the dances that you wanted? Seen the stars? Reached for them? Climbed mountains? Overcome yourself? Overcome others? Overcome others hard enough to turn enemies into friends? Have you lived like a protagonist? Have you opened yourself to the world and let it crush you? Have you swum out into the sea and let it threaten to carry you away? Have you done all of the things that you need to do? If not, you've got living to do. You better stop thinking about dying except as a threat. Because the threat isn't that you'll die. The threat is that you'll die unfulfilled. That you'll die having not accomplished what you need to. And every day that you sit at your stupid desk or lay in your stupid bed waiting for what? For the time to be right? It's another day that you get closer to dying without having accomplished shit. and billions of us do it. Billions of people go to their graves, well, not even their graves, to their crematoriums to be turned into nothing, ash and dust, to be demolished and dilapidated and destroyed uncaringly, having never accomplished anything. And they end up in a shitty urn, sitting on a shitty fireplace in their shitty family's home, forgotten. And when the family does their cleaning, their spring cleaning, the grandkids go, "What's this urn? I don't know. Who knows? Who cares?" Because nobody cares about Grandpa. And that's assuming that you make it there having had kids, having propagated, having done the act, having done the human living thing. Many millions of people don't do that. Really, I like to really imagine myself on my deathbed. Who's around me? How does it feel? What sort of expression is on my face as I stare Max Tack back? My deathbed, I just did it. My deathbed, both of my hands are in someone else's, and there are little children around, looking at this wreck of a human being, falling off the bones. And I get a last chance to say something to them. And with a smile, I pass. I see that end. I see it now. And I might never reach it. I might walk outside and get hit by a bus. But I don't think so. I think I'm either going to live forever, digitally, literally, or live till 80 plus with grandkids. Where are you going to be when you're dying? Who are you going to be? And will you have the experience and the knowledge that you did everything that you could so that you can face death down and say, fine, another hurdle, up and over. Nothing can be absolutely perfect in life, and if that's the case, why not continue forward? I've learned and only recently accepted that from my struggles. Yeah, accepted that from my struggles, from the journey that characters in CPED embark upon, and from your journey I get to witness. I will make progress and fall behind sometimes because the fact is progress isn't linear, no matter how hard I try to tell myself otherwise. It's a waveform. Progress is a waveform. It's an oscillation. Success, failure, chaos, rigidity. It's a waveform. It's a cycle. It's also, it's how your dopamine system works. It's a waveform. Your pursuit system, your emotional systems, your serotonin systems, they all work as a waveform. The higher the high, the lower the low. The bigger the joy, the bigger the fall. It's literally that the more you accomplish, the worse it will be for you. Literally, it's that. It's that the punishment will be forthcoming in relation to the amount of joy and pleasure that you experience. The more joy and the more good things you experience, the worse things will go for you at some point. But then the next oscillation will be even higher, and you can shift the whole thing upward so that the dips don't actually go that low. They're just low relative to where the peak is. You can do the whole thing going up. Progress isn't linear, no matter how hard I try to tell myself otherwise. I'm not strong enough right now, but I know I will be if I just move forward. So thank you again, Teeaboo. You're absolutely welcome. Thank you for commenting and sharing yourself. There's a literal physical anecdote that I want to bring up here. I got onto a balance beam at the place. They have a whole parkour setup. Thin balance beam, thinner than an Olympic one or whatever. Very thin balance beam. Got onto it. And you stand in one place on a balance beam like that, and you immediately start to wobble. What's the answer? If you try to stabilize, you can sometimes, but usually you just overcompensate and fall right back off. Okay, what's the answer? If you're falling and you're on a balance beam, how do you stabilize? How do you survive? You turn your fall into forward momentum. That's the answer. Because while you're running across, you're at 2 axes of motion. And so the balancing axis is bound by the forward movement axis. And you can run on a balance beam almost forever if you're just running fast enough. That's a way to envision what David is doing in the OP, is running on a balance beam. Because if you stop, whoa! But if you're moving forward, the falling carries you, and you turn falling into part of your own momentum. So yeah, you're not strong enough right now. You don't have the balance right now. You can't stay in the same place. You cannot. If you tread water, the ocean will consume you. Swim forward, run forward. And as Maine says, just keep running. Johan. 2 of the things that this adaptation shows really well are the inside view of cyberpsychosis as it happens and evolves into being, and the level of mortal damage it takes to be written off as flatline. Tanaka is mega dead, and his platinum trauma team policy was voided. JK, on the other hand, is very likely already back out producing. That's crazy. I fully didn't realize that, so thank you. The inside POV for Maine's mental break is personal, intense, and tragic. Pushing forward till the edge creeps up behind you and your footing falls away, but still clawing for that final inch and going down swinging. Yeah. You know, you fight with the Balrog to save your friends, and you succeed in casting it down into the depths, and it whips up and catches you and yanks you down with it. Everyone thinks I'm just built different. Everyone thinks the disaster happens only to someone else. Everyone thinks they can keep pushing the edge until the edge cuts back. Yeah. And me too. It's why when we watched the episode last week and I saw Maine going, I literally, you can find in the reaction, I went, that's me. Because that's me pushing the limit. And I made the choice over the week in between to really push that limit. And that edge didn't cut me. But it could have. And I'm not going to push further. Not right now. Not that edge. Got plenty more places to push. Plenty more boundaries to expand. Thanks for the comment, Johan. OJ. I recommended that OJ take their comment that they posted and chop it up, rewrite it, and turn it into the script for a video essay. 9 days ago, we got a response. Thanks, T. You can hopefully expect a not shit video essay up on my channel soon. Funnily enough, I already have experience in DaVinci Resolve from my poor attempts at creating my own FPS frag movies as well as school projects, so it seems almost like a match made in heaven to combine my somewhat competent essay writing skill and my modicum of editing prowess to try creating video essays. Yep. Anyway, in spite of the distinct and overwhelming fear of failure, I've decided to channel my inner shonen protagonist and take you up on your suggestion. That's exactly it. It's in spite of failure. In spite of fear. The fear doesn't get less. That's not how it works. This is the same with people who are afraid of spiders or snakes or have some phobia, and you do exposure therapy to them and get them closer to the thing. They're not less afraid of snakes. They're braver. Be brave. And that's what you're doing. So I responded, let's fucking go. And then I got an update 6 hours ago, or 15 hours ago. Update. It's been 6 days and I have written 3 paragraphs. Man, I knew script writing was tough, but holy cow, is it time consuming. In a good way, of course. Every time I find a good idea to fit fit in, it spurs on another train of thought that brings the entire video in a completely different direction. I had originally planned for it to be less than 10 minutes, but now it's looking more like 15 or 20. Set a time and actually set it as the limit. If it's 10, then set it as 10 and then stick to it and cut out everything else. This is something that I'm not good at, obviously. I'm an hour and a half into a recording about a 20-minute episode of anime, right? But cut it down to the size and limit yourself and it'll work. Now, if you set it at 15, then set it at 15. If you set it at 20, set it at 20. But these things have a tendency to expand and you can't let it. Having a lot of fun, though, workshopping it every day, whether it be just a sentence or 2 entire paragraphs, which I scrap and start over with a 1 sentence remaining. I realized I shouldn't give myself a strict time frame for this, as I am enjoying the process of figuring out what the hell I'm doing, which I know always takes longer than you expect. That's totally fine. Although a deadline can be useful if you find yourself floundering, give yourself a hard deadline, as though there were a teacher who was going to give you an F and it would really matter to you. Give yourself a hard deadline and it'll ramp up your adrenaline and get you going. But if you're going and having fun playing in the space, playing different parts and different options, keep it up. So I'll go at my own pace and we'll check in next time once I am done. Once again, thanks T and thanks to myself for finding this incredible channel. Once again, you're absolutely welcome. Thanks for writing. And we'll leave with Jav Gamers. So many of Main's lines in this, combined with the amazing voice acting, affect me in ways that I can't seem to understand or describe, but I'm going to give it a try here. The first being, is this my fault? Self-reflection is something that most people suck at really bad, especially without the benefit of hindsight, and the question he's asking is one that has no clear answer to it. So here we have a person who's right on the edge of sanity itself, having a revelatory moment as everything stops around them and just thinking, is this my fault? Before slipping past the point of no return. I think it's so tragic to me because maybe if this came only days earlier, maybe even hours earlier, the events could have played out differently. But now it's too late to ponder things like that, the moment of self-reflection being that much more gut-wrenching by its lateness. Yeah, could have played out differently, but then tragedy is always thus. That's the nature of tragedy. You watch a tragedy like Julius Caesar and it's like, oh no, Julius, if you only just, oh, now you're gonna die in an hour. You watch Romeo and Juliet and you're like, oh no, if you had just, oh. And repeatedly in Romeo and Juliet, they like just miss each other, you know? As the evidence would be there so they don't do the stupid thing and kill themselves. The evidence is just there and they just miss it over and over. And that's what makes it tragic. It's that it was right there in front of you and you didn't see. Couldn't see. The second being, fast is what you do best, ain't it? This whole episode in the backdrop of Main's psychosis is the road, whether real or metaphysical, that Main would run on before he started adding chrome to his body. Running is both movement towards an objective, but also movement away from and avoiding something else, and you will always hit the end of the road you run on eventually. Unless it's a circle. Run on circles, run on loops, tracks. They make a point of this in the first scene of him running as he stops and stares at the literal end of the road. And running and being fast is David's power, his way of actualization in the world. See, this is where I really like your analysis, Jav. And something that Main has probably always held some resentment toward, right? Main has gone bulky and chrome. He's a big, but he used to be a runner. And that's why it's not just maybe Main has held some resentment toward it. He does, and we see it in the episode. That Sandy's supposed to be mine. Why? Because it's the thing that he believes will unlock his ability to run. But it's also the thing that would turn him into a true monster. Because imagine Main with a Sandevistan and all his other gear going full Cyber Psycho. It goes way worse. Main always probably held some resentment towards, because while David can run towards his goals, he can also run away from his problems, something that Main wasn't going to be able to do for much longer, and it finally caught up to him here. So to tell David that being fast and running is what he does best is a recognition of David's ability to move toward things in a way that nobody else can. It's also a way, sort of saying, don't put too much chrome in your body because you won't be able to run anymore. And that's correct. Running is a human thing, a bio thing. Now you can get real good at running via chrome and via Sandevistaning and all that stuff, but it's about the balance, really. And if you fuck up that balance, you go psycho. And yet the dark underside being that he's also able to run from his problems in a way that nobody else can. But just like Maine, he is likely going to run out of road to run on at some point. And when he can't use what he does best anymore, what is he going to be left with if and when that time comes? Still not entirely satisfied with those explanations, but they're all I'm able to get at for now. That's exactly it. It's just like the previous comment. I just have to keep moving forward because I'll fall apart if I don't. You just have to try to express the thing, otherwise it just flounders in your brain and disappears and dies. So, good job and thank you. They're all I'm able to get at for now, so unless I have some revelation on it later, that's where I'm gonna leave them. Very good. Thank you very much. Yeah, David is likely going to run out of road to run on at some point. And more than likely, I know that this is the way that David goes. Like, there's no chance, given the way that Cyberpunk as a universe exists, that David makes it out of this whole. Alive? Maybe. Whole? Not a chance. Not a chance. There are stories where characters remove their chrome from themselves in order to become whole. That's a possibility. But the OP tells the story. There's a man standing there, and he puts a bullet inside David's head. And I think that's where we're headed. David runs and runs and runs until he can't run anymore, until he comes up against somebody who's bigger than him and gets shot. And I think that's where we're going. So, why watch if the end game is already clear? Why care if we know that this story doesn't end well? Because following the waveform is worth it. Why get on a roller coaster if you know it's going to end? Because the experience is worthwhile. Duh. Any 6-year-old knows that. Oh, you're going to have to get off the roller coaster at the end? Okay. Let's go. I don't give a shit. And then get off the roller coaster. Ah! I want to go again. Okay. But you know we have to leave the park at some point. I don't care. I want to go again. Okay. We ride the roller coaster anyway. Even though it's going to end. Doesn't mean you shouldn't get on the ride. So let's get on the ride. That will be all for Comment Spotlight. Thank you all for commenting. I just picked and chose a couple. There are plenty more. You're all fucking amazing. And I hope you'll comment more and more. Whether it's about the stuff that I talked about at the beginning or the episode itself that we're about to dive into. Doesn't matter to me. Go ahead and drop your comments. I appreciate them immensely. I'm going to spend a couple of minutes chowing down on this oatmeal stuff so that I can have some food in my belly. I'll use the bathroom and do a couple of other things, and then we'll watch Cyberpunk Edgerunners Episode 7 and talk about it as much as we can. See you in a sec. Peace. All right, welcome back. We are really red. The sun has mostly gone down, and so that's all we have now. I wonder if that's a flaw. Now that's a look, eh? That's a heck of a look. Blue and red. And you can see my irises, you can see my eyes, and that's what matters. So, Episode 7 of Cyberpunk Edgerunners, titled Stronger. Because that's what we must become. Stronger than we were before because we've lost some of what we were before. Or maybe it means something that I don't expect. And I'll have to be ready to learn. Regardless, we go. If you got something out of this video so far, please consider supporting me on Patreon. This video making thing is my life's work, and my only work. And I dedicate myself to it fully and completely. In order to do that, I need funding so that I can buy food, so that I'm not starving. Please consider supporting the channel on Patreon, via PayPal, via the Streamlabs tip jar, whatever you want to do. It's all gravy to me. I can survive at a good bit lower income than I'm at, but it will make my life harder than it needs to be. And with more income, I will be able to do more things, put more cameras in more places, stream more stuff, and more fully and completely dedicate myself to this art, and prove to myself and others that it's possible to dedicate yourself stupidly to something that you love. If that's the kind of world you'd like to live in, the kind of world where a fool can really, really share their love of art and animation and make a decent living off of it, then please contribute to that decent living via the Patreon. And that's all I'll say there. Thank you. Episode 7 of Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Stronger. 2 versions. Picture-in-picture in the description. Timer on YouTube. Beep beep timer to count you down. Let's go. Wow. I just blinded myself by looking at that. Still in the car driving? No, we're somewhere else. Hurt! Yee yee! Oh shit, we jumped. Whoa. Yeah, I totally got this. So David is Kamina now. He's leveled it up. Whoa! Supernova, totally prune. Prune. Did I say prune? Preem. Paprika's gonna kill the idiot. He's trying to save everyone. Hi, Mercer. Hi, Matt. Hey, there he is. Finally, he has a line. So David's more chromed up. I didn't notice. I don't think he's got the arm. He's just got the lines all over him. So he's stepped into the role. And the idea that he has fans is something else. He's got a notoriety, right? I wonder if we'll go from here and show like where we're at and then jump back to the moment of like overcoming. We also don't know where Lucy is. That says David is grown. Slash Chrome. So apparently this was all storyboarded by Ikarashi as well, which tracks. Okay. Warehouse in the middle of hotel in the middle of nowhere. Hi, Kiwi. Okay. What's plan C, though? So that's a gang that I just don't know who they are. Little baby lord. Nope, he's got normal hands. You fucking what? There she is. Oh, wait. That's not her. That was Kiwi. Okay, sorry. They've got a runner! Jeez. Oh, jeez. Oh, God. Oh! He's got something. Alright, Julio. Jeez. Ha! You fucking idiots. Yeah. Just fucking Nerf launchers of doom. Oh! Thank you, Kiwi. You're welcome. Falco doesn't care. And so we're really showing David as competent beyond competent, right? Okay, is this Bioshock now? My turn. Sandy! Doom, doom, doom. We're gonna get a full Kamina head-to-head? Or a fist-to-fist? Drips into it. Doesn't even need to. So I don't know what that mechanic was, but clearly that was... Oh, go even further beyond. And this is to go even further beyond! That does look like that gun. Oh, wow, and we saw it in full speed. Wow. Yeah, lots of chrome. Lots of chrome. He's grown up into a muscular, like a full man. He's gonna get killed. Well, hell. We're rescuing captives. What are they captive for? Oh, it's a specific rescue. It's the blonde. Hi. What about the rest of us? Okay, we got a different person. Wakako. Not Faraday. I wonder, she's spider-like. Wee wee. Bloody guns. And we're in the same cycle. Back to the party, and she's taking Pilar's role. So weird hearing Matt. High noon. It's high noon. I'm sure about that. Sorry. So we bring it up. And they laugh about it, because he's overcome it. Well, you're leading this thing. That's a scary thing. You fly high, close enough to the sun. Full mecha hand. Later, skater. Of course. Where's Lucy? Ah. Ah. She gave up, huh? That's weird. Yeah. She wanted to settle, dog. She wanted the fuck out. But everything becomes a blur when you run fast enough. There's some interesting tension between them. We just did a body slide over Kiwi. She's gone full hands, huh? It is his fault. But he's just smiling, letting him joke. More, stronger. The laser pop hip grind. It seems like the way. Is she at docks? No. Okay, he's continuing to keep the arm. Got it. I want this one. And it might be. Quom Jock. I love it. You gotta chill. Yeah, you're going straight down the same path, man. You're all metal. No, you're not. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, for sure. You are built different, David, but not that different. Right, he does, though. Ah! Immediately writing that down. Clearly something in the game, I'm sure. Sick. Is he still living? Ah, the boogeyman. I see. Hi, Adam Smasher is here. He's pointing a gun at my head. This is a real one. Is this Faraday? Hi. Not quite. Click, click, click. God, he's so... Oh my god. Oh, that really does something sealed to me. Compound eyes are cool. Are these guys Dronodettos? Uh-huh. Yes. Oh, titties. Mm-hmm. Oh, you think so? No, 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 no. What's the job? I will. Yeah, it better be a test that pays. Yes. Oh. Okay. So you need to go get Lucy back. So your mission is to go and find the girl. Well, and she's titties out. It's really interesting that that's one of the first times we've truly shown her nude. Ah, flick, 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 flick. It's not a suggest. Man, it's about to be. Let me handle those things. That's gonna get people killed, man. Ooh, what an interesting transition. Good things. Wow. Oh, and he's got an apartment now. Because the saying is, good thing comes to those who wait. Whoa, she is here? Oh, he's keeping her out of it. Duh. He's keeping her out of it. Yeah, they're standing in both of them nude, totally empty together. And she's leaning toward him. That's a great piece of body language. Angle. She doesn't want to. Okay. That's gonna get one of them killed, man. Fuck. Don't need it. Nude, empty, and forced by Arasaka at some point. Because she's never talked about her past, really. She hasn't opened up. He doesn't know. Yep, okay. I guess we're going for a ride on a bike. Up to a place to look at the stars. Yeah, have we forgotten the moon? Can't forget the moon. The dream must there it is. True. When the dream is away. Yeah. Whoa. Beautiful eyes. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. I'd really like to. Yep. Oh, lucky. Of course. Indoctrination. Hmm. And they put you into a coagulated mess. Yep. Whoa. Why? Digging out data from the literally daemons. Trying to prevent this future. Oh, they don't even know what they're doing anymore. Arasaka doesn't even know what it's working for anymore. Right, yeah, wow. Whoa. Until she was the last, maybe. How do you escape? Right. It's identical to work slavery. Wage slavery. Yep. Yeah. No. You're powerful now. With the sockets. They gave you everything that you needed. That's a great story. And then all the rest get picked off, but she keeps running, can't look back. Yep. Just keep running. Oh god, fuck. Oh, they nailed it. No looking back, or you turn to a pillar of salt. You have to escape into the wild. The empty wandering. Yep. The mess. Flick, flick. Definitely. Ah, just like. Not like her. And that's why she doesn't want back on the team. She wants you to chase your dreams together. Of course she understands. But she wants you. Too afraid for you. Losing you. Yup. Go psycho. And he's gonna say, no, I won't. And she smiles at it, but this is... That's the guy that we took it from. Completely corrupted. What? Are you saying, oh, because she did find data and then she removed it carefully? Who is this? So Lucy's been doing her own game. She's fighting Arasaka and trying to keep David out of it. Denied. Oh, hacking through your tech. She's stronger than you. Pop. And she's the devil in the dark now. Wow. Okay, Lou. Oh. Honestly, not the most complicated episode. The choice to fast forward so much from that point of trauma is very effective at moving us forward. And we drop all these hints, the Atom Smasher, the Rage Bart Moss, Daemons, all these things, the old web, all the old net, all that stuff. Militech versus Arasaka set the stage for the final episodes as we head into the last portion of the show. And then telling Lucy's story. Parts of it, at least. And what she's going for is trying to save David. Trying to figure out what bigger conspiracy is putting him in this position. Wow. Yep, her own pain is hers. Can't let anybody else into this pain. We fade into the rocket. The moon has gone away, but you can see the stars so clearly. Ooh, it means something. Bam. And there's the episode. And David is stronger, but an inkling of the same destruction waits for him. And Lucy is stronger, but not with him, because she's telling her own lies and fighting her own battles. Fascinating. Back in a sec. We're back. Much better. Okay, another excellent episode of Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Not as gut-punchingly, amazingly fucked as the previous one, but still spectacular. David is grown, and David is chrome. We open here on a car moving through the city, and for a moment I thought maybe it's the same car. Maybe it's the same time and place, even. And it's not. Lucy, and our first shot of David is here, and he looks about the same. But our second shot of David is here, and he is not the same. He has grown significantly, and significantly more muscular, and we pan up and we see the telltale lines across his face that indicate chrome all over. And the first thing that he does is he asks this guy if he's got a gun, same thing that Maine did to him. And so he really is doing the same thing, playing the same part, acting out the same role. And he's trying his best to make sure that the people under his control, under his command, don't get themselves killed stupidly. He's trying. There's only so much you can do. And of course, Becca is going to be Becca, and he allows it all. And everything he says, just remember to stay behind me. And we get him shaking in his boots going, don't worry, I'm not a noob. And be smart, don't rush. And of course, the kid doesn't listen. What can you do if the kid doesn't listen? You're not in control of him. You can't save people, right? You can give them the tools, you can tell them what they need to do, and if they don't want to listen, maybe they'll get exploded. I like the scene, the opening sequences here. They make the feel of it, the way that the lighting scatters and the way that there's like micro fog in throughout, creating bokeh or graininess is really cool. It gives a cool three-dimensionality. We enter into the space. I'm sure that this feels like some of the layouts for the game, and maybe even for some of the missions of the game, is like big empty warehouse filled with bad guys. That's where you're going, and that's it. And so David stands tall at the top of his little crew, and squatted up, in we go. I love that we finally get Falco voice, which is Matt Mercer, and he sounds like Matt Mercer. It's very weird to me to hear a man who I've heard hundreds of hours, literally hundreds of hours of Matt Mercer talking because of Critical Role. And so I hear him drop into one of his accents, which is, it's sort of, his Falco voice that he uses here is basically his classic Western accent, cowboy accent, and it's McCree. It's high noon. It's not that different. It's very funny. And everybody's got a gun, and everybody wants to fight, and everybody's a fucking idiot. And we've got a Kiwi. Click, pow, and guns, blood, violence, death, destruction, gore. Great. We've seen all that before. This is some cool shit. A big level up from David. I like this scene a lot. This is a classic Trigger scene. Side, rush toward each other. But of course, they don't come head to head. Wham, hup. And then the big boy sees him. Rawr. And has something tech in him that's catching up. So everybody's catching up to David, right? And he feels like he needs to go further and further in order to prevent them from catching up. It's like if you're a great runner, right? You're a great marathon runner or whatever. Well, the new generation is going to start catching up to you. So what do? Well, you take performance-enhancing drugs. Well, the new generation is taking performance-enhancing drugs too. What do? You take more and better performance-enhancing drugs until you tear your body apart or you get beat. And in David's case, if he gets beat, he gets smashed down with a hammer, right? But of course, new leg implants, bam, boom, bam, pow, and David is capable of surviving the circumstance. And then he says the line, I know how to fly just fine. Little birdie, did you forget how to fly? And the idea of David flying has been throughout the episode. We get it from maybe you'll fly as even higher than Maine ever did. Well, there's a story about flying high in human mythology. It's the story of Daedalus and Icarus. And it doesn't go well for Icarus or for Daedalus. The actual Speedmo scene that we get here, bam, boom, is spectacular. Because we see the whole thing in slow-mo. Flip, whip, bam. And of course, just like Julia, we go zoot, 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 bang. How cool. Well, and we go really in on his... Very good. We did it. Target's in there. And Julio, hey, hey, whoa, no problem. Bang. Watch out for bang. Bang. Such is life. A moment of shock. An arm hanging from the ceiling. And David stays shocked for a second, and Becca's already like, sigh of pissed offness. His hands part this world, push it apart, push it open, and he stands a savior, a hero, shiny in chrome in the doorway, and he brings salvation to this little girl, or whoever she is, and she breaks down and cries. We meet Wakako, who's the handler of some kind, and I like her a lot. I wonder who her voice actress is. I'm going to find out. I wonder if it's somebody that I know. Ren Hanami is the English dub voice? Okay. My anime list. Doesn't come up. No idea who she is. Okay, cool. Most impressive, proving himself. And we're back to the same song and dance. We party at night here. We have a nice conversation with Falco. And David is producing those real bonds with every member of the crew. The bonds that aren't there because Main is gone. Not everyone's like Main. And I took you as the same idea. But now, expect you'll fly higher than Main ever did. Buzz me later. And then Kiwi talks it through. I really doubted you had it. And he says, I couldn't have without the Primus runner. And he means Kiwi, but she goes, you know that's not me. So where is she? And he's hiding her. Kind of gave up trying. He's hiding her, keeping her away from his business so that she doesn't get hurt. But she's hiding from him what she's actually doing, isn't she? More than what happened to Main and Dorio at play. At the warehouse, she was acting strange. And he's deflecting, actually, is what we learn. Because I believed him. Kiwi's eyes narrow a bit. But there's nothing to it. I just want to mention how we create these framing devices. This is a line, through line, through line, through line. On Kiwi, through line. Okay. All framed down into corners. And then in the next frame, we get another new one. Flat line across. Kiwi at the centerpiece. Rule of third at the pillar. Really excellently framed and composed all the way over. And he's fishing for information about Lucy. We do this body slide up Kiwi, sexualizing her, I think, but it might just be unintentional. It is a slow pan. Maybe it's a slow thought. I don't know. Everyone's looking for something or a way up. Ed. Becca's trying. And we get this little calm, strong, subtle smile from David. These are his people, his family. This is the smile that you get when there's a father watching his kids go and play. Or do something silly, even. Allowing. Tolerant. Pleased, even. But not a part of it. Because David sets himself apart. And he hunks himself up into his jacket. And away he goes. And we see him inside the jacket and outside the jacket, the symbol of his mom. When he opens the door and goes in, it's without the jacket, you know? So it's a mix and match. I ain't good at playing just friends, she says, because she's trying to fuck him. And Kiwi gives some advice. Maybe try something different, cold, distant, and nerdy. And that brings us right into cold, distant, and nerdy. And I'll have to skip over most of this because titties. It's unfortunate. David demands that Main's arm stay in him. And he's constantly looking for more chrome. And the doc is saying, hey man, you better slow your road. You're going too far. And he goes, I'm doing just fine, doc. In fact, I feel better in metal than in my own skin. And he does have some built different in him. But how different can you be? Because you're going to push an edge and you won't be able to come back or even know that you've gone there. And smiling he is in his new body made of metal and chrome. And we just have to wonder, how far can you go, David? How high can you fly? Because you can't fly forever. Nobody can. But it sure feels like you could be something special. For now. And we get these flashes. Flash. 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 And the knowing smile. And he says the words himself. The arrogance. Must just be special, I guess. I guess I'm just built different. Adam who? And we tell the story of Adam Smasher. A fully Borg boogeyman. Who fills graveyards at Arasaka's orders. Who might fill a grave with David's body by the end of this if things go the way I would expect. Good luck. New job. Too many eyes. Dead-eyed folks around him. And he looks right at you. And Gus Fring tells you what he wants from you. This moment where we see the dead eyes of the people around him is pretty interesting. I wonder how autonomous they are. It's difficult to spot the Gannic amidst all that steel. But as you saw, his flaw was personal attachment, according to this character. This character's belief is that attachments make you weak, and he's not wrong. Because it's true, Superman's only weakness is the people you can hurt, right? But it's also the superhero's strength is attachment. You have to be willing to attach, and that makes you stronger, because bonded, ionic bonds are powerful. Magnetic bonds are powerful. More powerful than this character, than Faraday really knows. Familiarity muddies the mind. Does it? Was that what muddied the mind of Maine? Or was it detachment? I don't know. Keep biz and private separate. Well, what about Chrome and Bio? Maybe those should be more separate too. A test, a money. We're going for Militech, going against Arasaka. And so you're taking over the contract for Tanaka. Something like it, at least. But your Netrunner has gone dark. I'm going to skim through all of the titty sections. Her heart's not in it. I suggest you give her a nudge in the right direction. Easier said than done. So what's Militech after? No concern of yours. Unneeded details also muddy the mind. No, they don't. That's crucial information that could get people killed. And so we understand how Faraday works a little bit. And then he says this line, I'm afraid not. I haven't learned anything new. But good things come to those who act. And the original is, good things come to those who wait. I like good things come to those who act better. I like it a lot better. Very good line from Faraday. Prove you're worth my time. Shower, new apartment, glory, and she's here. So is a memorial for Gloria. She's so proud of him getting into the school, and he doesn't even want to be there. Of course. Please, David, I just need a little more time. And she's as genuine as can be, and he's as open and loving as he can be. More diving? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Safety, right? No. Trauma. Come on. And so we go out to the starry night sky, and there's no moon. The moon is the dream. It's a symbol, right? The moon is the dream of them together in the future having a happy life, right? There's no moon. The dream is gone. Or maybe they've already reached it because they're already on it. And when the dream is gone, you can see the sky clearly and see all the different stars. And that's true. But you've lost sight of the moon. And something about that strikes me as deeply tragic, but I don't know what. The moon outshines all the other stars. But you have been outside the city that looks like a prison of light. Said you were worlds apart. What did you mean? And he finally says, I'd like to know more about you. And so she tells him, Netrunner, stolen, enslaved, indoctrinated, trained, and turned into a soldier. And everything in the old net was brought down by history's greatest netrunner, the creator of daemons, Raish Bartmoss. Creator of daemons. That's a cool idea, because a daemon is an autonomic process, a process that works on its own, kind of like a robot in a way. Corrupted 78% of the net in one day. Why, you wonder? I'll tell you why. I don't even know the story. I'll tell you exactly why he did it. It's because centralization allows for corruption, and he thought that by shattering it, he could generate freedom for people. And he was wrong, long term. It's the same idea that's in Fight Club. Destroy the banking system so that everybody can be free. Yeah, well, might work, might not. But that's what Arasaka is searching for. Arasaka's purpose lies somewhere in the old net, and what that means is Arasaka is a corporation that doesn't even know what it's meant for. Its whole goal is just to find out what it was first meant for. That's fascinating. Legacy info, lost knowledge. And so they were sent in, and every time they found anything useful, they were destroyed. More and more of us, gone and gone. And eventually, she has the same awakening that I had 4.5 years ago when my dog died, and I was sitting in my room writing code, because I was a programmer, writing code for freelance for startups who were essentially lying to venture capitalists in order to get their money. So I was working to a kid with a head full of dreams about what I could do with the power of technology. And instead, I was working to foster the dreams of somebody else. Dreams that I didn't even believe in fact, was diametrically opposed to. Chasing down someone else's dream, throwing down our lives to do it. So we realized, if I'm going to die anyway, why don't I die pursuing my own dreams? And let me tell you, that's exactly what I've been doing for the last 4 years. Right here. Right on screen, on channel with you. And if you want proof of it, go back and watch the first video on the channel. The first video on the channel. The first Ginga Eiyu Densetsu video. Or the Lane videos. They're hard to watch because they're so low quality. But that idea and that fire is there. And it's been there ever since, and it's never left. It goes through an oscillatory cycle, but it's been there nonetheless. The revelation is this. You're going to die anyway. You're going to destroy yourself anyway. You're going to be destroyed by the force of the world. So you might as well be destroyed by something that you think is worthwhile. So figure out what that is, and then throw yourself up against it and see if it breaks you. Likely, if you choose it correctly, it won't. And so she runs, and runs, and runs, and she never ever looks back, because if you look back, you're lost. And that's exactly right. And I feel her in that moment, because I'm running too. Right on the edge. Running and running. Right on the edge. And I never look back. Well, that's not true. I evaluate. And I try to comprehend. But the idea of going back to where I was, of slaving away for someone else's shitty dream, not even a good one, a shitty one that I knew would fail from the outset. You know, you get a deliverable from a couple of people who are like, they're in sales, and they're like, well, we need a computer system that could do this, and we'll deliver it, and the companies will love it. And I look at it, I'm like, that's a stupid idea. But I was doing it anyway because it paid, right? Yeah, that shit will eat your soul up. Going back, never. Going forward into new things, finding out that the new things might incorporate some of the old things, that I might have to bust out the coding skills in order to generate some of the stuff that I want. Fair enough. But look back, look down, drill down, not ever. My eyes on the sky, and I'm going up and forward. So she awakens, she wanders, and she finds her way to the place where people hide. The grand city, the grand teeming mass. Still chasing someone else's dream, she says. Yes. And she wants nothing more than to keep him with her. All she fears now is losing him. And in a way, he's saying, don't worry about it, it's not going to happen. But he doesn't know that. And she knows that it's a lie, even if she wants to believe. And so she's out there pursuing the truth, becoming her own boogeyman, destroying those who would seek out information about the one she must protect, keeping his pride intact. Red eyes in the dark and a glowing set of hair. And that's Lucy and David, both gifts of the Magi trying to throwing themselves away, trying to protect the other. And that's love right there, man. Misplaced perhaps, but true love nonetheless. Each of them killing themselves doing something that they don't really like in order to protect the other. It's a beautiful aspect of the story. So David has kept running. What else is he going to do? And he's chromed up and gotten stronger and faster. What else was he going to do? And now he comes up against bigger and bigger obstacles. And the question continues, can he overcome? Or will he be too soft? Too bio? Or will he be too hard? Too chrome? He teeters, running along the edge, abyss to one side, too far to one side, not far enough on the other. Death in both directions. And just like with the balance beam that I talked about at the very beginning, if you stop, you fall. The only way is to keep falling forward and forward. Another step and another, until you're running and running and running. From what? From everything. To what? To the unknown. Onward we run. Upward we fly. And we'll see if we get too close to the sun. Thanks for watching this episode of Cyberpunk Edgerunners. I really enjoyed it. Short discussion at the end, I understand, but that was the nature of the episode. Big build in my mind emotionally to find that the episode was quite simple, really. Because as much as Maine meant to us, Maine didn't mean shit to Night City. And as much as David means to us, David might not mean shit to Night City either. We'll see how it goes from here. Thanks for joining. Please support the channel on Patreon. It's the only way that I get any income. I appreciate those of you who do. If you don't want to or can't, a comment, a like, a subscribe, all go a very long way to supporting the channel and to pushing these videos out to more people, which I think is necessary and important. So if you agree, please do those. Thank you, and I'll see you next week for the next episode. Peace.